Willkommen, guten Morgen, herzlich willkommen zu unserem Webinar. Ich schalte jetzt gleich auf Englisch, damit alle Teilnehmenden uns auch verstehen. Welcome to our webinar. The topic is Cookieless Future, and we want to discuss this topic using a case study. PostFinance, one of the leading Swiss financial services company, has worked together with Decentriq. They call themselves the Switzerland of data, and the speaker will explain just now what that means. How to maximize the use of your own in-house data when you do marketing campaigns. And I'm thrilled to have the two speakers today, Laura Andracchio, oh my God, got it wrong. Performance Marketing Manager at PostFinance or PostFinance, and Juan Barón, the Business Development and Strategy Director with Decentriq. Welcome. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us today. And without further ado, I hand over to you.
Thank you, Jean-Marc, and thank you, Jinan, for inviting us for this opportunity to present a very successful case study that we presented, we published last year. So let me go ahead and share what we're going to present today and see. Okay. So thanks again for the opportunity. What we're going to walk you all through is a little bit of an introduction into Decentriq and how PostFinance, one of our key customers, why we actually tested the Decentriq technology together with PostFinance and their agency, together with a couple of publishers here in Switzerland. And why Decentriq? Why there is a common thread in the future for data clean rooms in the advertising world, and why brands like PostFinance can take advantage of these such technologies to maximize the value of their own data, but also use it in a way that is compliant and private, protecting the data subjects, which is their customers. Now, we are not the only data clean room in the world. The big technology companies like Amazon, Meta, and Google have their own clean rooms. This is what we call walled garden clean rooms, and because they serve their own ad inventory. And there's another world, what we call the open internet, where independent data clean rooms like Decentriq live. And we are a neutral environment that allows companies like PostFinance to collaborate with publishers or any other data provider that they choose to invite into their own clean room. Now, there's been a rise of obviously there's a lot of news going around with the deprecation of third-party cookies for 15 to 20 years. Advertisers have relied on third-party cookies as the identity layer of the internet, and it started subsiding since the 2017 when Apple launched the ITP, and now with Google finally killing off third-party cookies on Google Chrome. By the beginning of next year, there will no third-party cookies will cease to exist. And what does that mean for advertisers like PostFinance? Signal loss is a very big problem, and they need to solve that by shifting towards first-party data world, and that's where we come in. Now, in the advertising world, a lot of the advertisers spend a lot of money on the walled gardens. That is common, but also they spend a lot of money on premium publishers, and a lot of the readers and consumers around the internet spend most of the time actually consuming content on premium publishers. Now, we, as Decentriq, as a technology provider, we speak to a lot of agencies and advertisers all over the world. And we hear four common themes. One, they will continue to spend money on the walled gardens, Google, Meta, TikTok. There's a comeback on contextual advertising. Because of the deprecation of third-party cookies, there's a rise of ID solutions. And the fourth pillar is actually data clean room. They're going to play a key role in their strategy moving forward. Now, what does it mean? What does it mean to be a data clean room provider and also be a customer of a data clean room provider like Decentriq? In the middle is the brand. The brand is the one that licenses the technology. They invite the publishers that they want to collaborate with, and they can actually enable collaborations with data partners or even retailers, or perhaps if they want to, other banks, financial institutions, or even insurance companies. And what we've done is we've narrowed down the breadth of our technology and for the marketing world, and we focus a lot on activation, insights, lookalike building in a GDPR compliant way. And that is exactly what we're going to showcase today. Now, what makes Decentriq special as a technology provider and a data clean room provider is the underlying technology called confidential computing. And one of the key reasons why we get to work with highly sensitive brands like PostFinance. Confidential computing allows us to guarantee that the data remains encrypted at all stages of the collaboration process. And it allows us to guarantee that nobody in Decentriq, not even our cloud provider, will ever have access to the data. So from the InfoSec team at PostFinance, from the DPO team at PostFinance, they can rest assured that their data remains absolutely protected and under strict control in their own terms. And that is the kind of guarantees that we provide not only to PostFinance, but also to the publishers that they wish to collaborate with. So this is a snapshot of some of the brands that we work with. As you can see, we have global presence. Even though we're a small team in Zurich, we work with among the most premium publishers all over the world, like the Wall Street Journal and Sky Media in Germany. We also work with large global brands like HSBC. We have some projects going on with them in Singapore, and even retailers like IKEA. We have some other projects going on with them in other parts of Europe. And we're proud to say that because of our security and privacy guarantees, we even get to work with the Department of Defense at the Swiss government. So it's a testament to the trust that is being embedded on us as a technology provider and the guarantees that we provide in terms of protecting their data. Now, what are the use cases you can enable in today's world when it comes to media and advertising? This is something that we focus a lot. We work very closely with PostFinance to also mold the product in many different ways. We get a lot of feedback from customers. The use cases that we're going to show you today is mostly around audience insight, building lookalikes, what we call privacy preserving lookalikes. You can also do remarketing if you choose to. The traditional way of retargeting users based on cookies does not exist anymore. So this is actually is more CRM remarketing. And you can also enable very advanced, sophisticated data science collaboration projects using our data science clean room, where PostFinance, if they choose, they can actually work on advanced use cases such as audience enrichment, enriching their CRM based on modeling, or even do pixel-less attribution across a number of publishing partners. Now, today we're going to show you this case study. PostFinance as a brand decided to leverage Decentriq, leverage some of their customer data, and activate lookalikes at Goldbach and Ringier. And this is the user experience. I'm going to walk you through the user experience, and then Laura will take over and actually do a very long, deep dissect in terms of the actual case study and the learnings that we had from this experience. So as a brand, the brand selects the publishers that they want to collaborate with. They can upload their data into Decentriq, and because of our technology, we encrypt the data at the source, and it gets uploaded in encrypted form, and it remains encrypted at all stages of the collaboration process. And because of our technology, PostFinance holds their own encryption key, and only them have access to that key. So we never get to see anything that happens in the clean room. Once the data is uploaded, the collaboration starts. Immediately, PostFinance starts to understand a little bit more about their own customers and how their data can look inside of the data universe of a particular publisher. In this case, it could be Goldbach or Ringier. And this is a very good, interesting way of actually doing kind of data-driven contextual advertising, because as you see on your screen, we're showing you segments from that particular publisher. And we have an affinity score model that we can actually recommend specific segments of the publisher that have a high affinity towards the data from PostFinance. You can also use this as media planning tool. So it allows you to explore different data sets inside of the publisher, and could also even influence the creative in a future campaign. Once the part of the insights is completed, we move immediately to the lookalike building. What we're doing here is actually using the match of the seed to train the model. And what we do is that we actually extract that trained model and then reapply that model to the entire universe of publisher-provided IDs. So at no point in time we will ever transfer our brand, our customer's data set over to the publisher. What we're doing is just training a model. And the publisher only receives on their end their own publisher-provided IDs, which are compatible with the ad server. I understand this is a bit technical, but it's also very important to highlight that part of the goal of Decentriq is sharing insights without ever sharing data. That is the goal. And that is exactly what we are able to accomplish with this lookalike builder. So now I'm going to leave it over to Laura to speak a bit more about the proof of concept that we did last year.
Yeah, thanks, Juan. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura. As just mentioned, I'm the performance marketing manager at PostFinance. And I have the pleasure to work with Juan and the team at Decentriq at on this case that we did for our big, huge TK Anlege flight that ran from October to December, I guess. No, September to end of October. Go ahead. So Juan already told you, like you can imagine, 2.5 years ago, we built this small little project group at PostFinance. There were people in there from the marketing department, but also, very accurate, the legal department. And when we first came up with Cookieless Future, what does that mean? What does that mean for us marketers? What does that mean for PostFinance? We immediately started to realize that we need to find solutions. And that was 2.5 years ago. And there were many possible ways or solutions put on the table back then. And one of the solutions was data clean rooms. And we decided very quickly as a team that this would be something that we would really like to test. But since we're a financial department in Switzerland, it was very crucial that we choose the right partner to do that. And as you probably can imagine, something like Google or Meta was not the first thing our legal department jumped on. So we were looking for a Swiss partner, like someone who could really understand what Switzerland is, like how does Switzerland work? What does the financial sector mean for us? What does it mean in terms of security and privacy standards that we need to follow? And Decentriq really jumped in there. And at the end of the day, we decided that we would like to work with Decentriq on this case, mainly because they have servers in Switzerland, which is one of the most important reasons for us. But also like the right amount of Swissness, like that was a really, really nice thing. The team is really small, but everyone is really hands-on, very, very efficient. And so that was mainly the reason why we decided to do this case with Decentriq. Can I just push the button myself? Awesome. So Juan just told you a little bit about the lookalike activation at publishers. And he just actually ran you through what we did, and what you saw is exactly what you did. But for reference, like the tool itself is evolving very quickly. Like the rundown Juan just showed you, that is already like way ahead of when I used the tool last year. So they are really quick in implementing the feedback that we also gave them. The most interesting thing for us was like to see the overlaps that we have with the two publishers that we chose to work with. And what we decided in terms of like having a proper case is that we would create an A/B testing of this. So like we planned the whole campaign like we usually do, together with the agency, with normal targeting, like the way we just would always do it. But on top of that, we created the A/B test with the data clean room audience. And the goal was like very clearly getting a higher engagement by targeting the most relevant users. But we also wanted to see, can we raise the privacy bar, and can we maybe even lower costs in certain funnels doing that? And campaign setup was like this. The main KPI was the sign up click, because actually at the end of the day, we all want to get customers and clients, makes kind of sense. But we also wanted to have a little engagement KPIs just to give the algorithm a little more data. So we had the second scrolling implemented too as a KPI. And of course, the cost decrease per engagement that we wanted to achieve. And side KPIs were just like basic KPIs that you always kind of measure, CTR, viewability. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of the details. Like we worked with two publishers that were Ringier and Goldbach. We used one DSP, that was DV360. The campaigns were handled, monitored by Web Republic, our main agency, our lead agency for the digital sector. And we tested this whole thing on one campaign. It's one of our biggest campaigns that we do for one of our very important products, which is Anlegen. We had quite a budget there, and so it really made sense to test this on this topic. And what we did, we decided to do two parallel creatives. Again, we did this A/B testing, so we had a DCR awareness phase going on, but we also had a non-DCR awareness thing going on, and we did the same for the consideration funnel. The confidential lookalike mode with the data clean room awareness audience was based on a seed of our own customers that we did. So who was involved in that? Just to give you a little background on how many people were involved in this whole thing. Like, of course, we had a data scientist who helped us in defining the seed audience that we would use for the data clean room. Just to give you a real insight, not even I saw the data. I only saw the encrypted data in the clean room, because the only person who knows the data is the one that actually decides it. So in this case, it was data science. That's how safe this whole thing is. Not even I could see the audience. And so we defined this seed audience and uploaded it to the DCR. We did the exact same thing for the consideration phase. So we tried to really give the system the core audience it would need to find us the best possible lookalike audience. The broad targeting for the non-DCR awareness and consideration phase was just the way we would always do it. We didn't really use a lot of filters in the awareness phase, because we really want to have it open and wide and attract everyone and just raise the bar and the share of voice for what we have as a product, as a bank. And the non-DCR consideration targeting was filtered by pre-targeted investment-related audiences, just like I assume or hope most people do it in here. Okay, what we then did, Juan just told you that you have a real good, like the tool itself, once you have the data in there, it gives you a really great insight on whether the audience that you usually define is actually like overlapping with the other Swiss people. Like, is that really who you should be talking to? In our case, it wasn't really a surprise to see the finance interested mid-age and more males thing, like that kind of overlaps with what we see in our own data. But I assume, and we talked about it quite often, there are many, many clients who get quite surprised when they see that data. Maybe Juan can tell you a little more about that. But I think this is a really great way to determine whether you're really talking to the right people or not. So that's a really great tool to use. Like, even if it's, as Juan mentioned, just for planning and not actually for a campaign. So this really gives you a lot of insights you didn't have before. And let's jump into the results. I mean, we were quite happy, which is basically the reason why I'm sitting here and talking to you guys. So the awareness phase, we saw an increase of the CTR while a decrease of the CPV. The page view after the impression went up by 57%, which was one of the highest KPIs that we ever saw. And the cost per page view decreased as well. In the consideration phase, it was incredible what happened with the CTR. I mean, a plus of 400% was not what we expected. Like, we kind of expected, we had the thesis that it would be good, but like, to see what it really did was incredibly impressive to us, which was also the reason why we then decided to move forward and like consider Decentriq for another case that we will start this year. Yeah. So the conclusion, DCR showed like you really are able to identify an audience of users who are closer to your product or your company or whatever you sell. What we saw is that in terms of cost efficiency, which is always kind of a thing when we talk about engagement, like engagement is all like everywhere, everyone talks about engagement, but is the engagement actually effective, like in terms of cost efficiency? And this is where Data Clean Room really showed us an increase in cost efficiency. So that was really great for us to see. What we need to talk about too, and that's actually what I want to dive into a little bit more. I assume there are a lot of people in here who will or would work on the campaigns. And just to give you a little details about the learnings and the challenges that we have. So what we found is that if you use a data clean room, you kind of need to rethink how you build campaigns. That was something that our main agency, Web Republic, I don't know if anyone is here in the call, but we had a lot of exchange, because in the beginning it was kind of harsh, because the way you set up campaigns with different just for an example, like we're in Switzerland, we have 4 languages, sometimes 5, depending on what your company's way of thinking is. But in our case, we have many different languages, and we would usually have budgets on each language just to give it a proper split. That's how usually people do it. You provide a budget split for different languages and regions you're targeting to. And what we needed to do, like, speed didn't really pick up in the beginning, and none of us really knew why, until we decided to, and maybe we just think to like, maybe we just need to open it up and just redefine the way we think a campaign setup. And that was one of the first things that we did. And when we started to open up, and the discussion between PostFinance, Decentriq, the publishers, but also the main agency started to really work, and we defined the issues that we had in the beginning, like, speed picked up very quickly. So what's important is, well, my suggestion, if you want to work with this, rethink the way you're planning your campaigns. And that was one of the main things that we would do differently in this next case that we're going to do. What I just said, it explains itself. There's a high involvement needed, especially in the beginning. So this is a new tool. It's a new technology, and it's like it's needed that everyone shows willingness to really dive into it. But once you did that, like once you're a proper team, you can generate valuable insights, and it's incredibly helpful if you set up, like, I don't know, weekly calls and really make sure everyone is on the table and like everyone is in the calls. And but if willingness is there, it's cool, and it doesn't need a huge big team of 50 people to do that. Not at all. What it needs is people who are willing and really hands-on to sit down and communicate and change the way of thinking, like rethink the way you market. The main challenge, I just talked about it, like combination of language, budget, and performance splits. That's the one thing I would really tell you, and probably the agency who works with us or worked on the case with us would agree. Just think about how you set up your campaigns. Don't use too many line items for the campaign setuppers in the call. I don't know if anyone is here who sets up campaigns. And one thing I wanted to highlight is that the tool itself, I used it. I was the one building the lookalike audiences and push it to the publishers. That was me. The tool is very easy to use. Like at first you need to you need to check it out a little, but Juan and the guys are always here to like run you through if you have an issue or questions. But the tool itself is very, very simple and very hands-on to use. So yeah, that was our experience with the data clean room. Get your legal department on. But yeah, it was fun. And again, we will do this again this year. So thanks, Juan.
Of course,
And
thank
the
you.
team.
Thank you. And as
Wonderful.
can open the
Oh,
floor
sorry.
for Q&A.
Yes. Thanks for to the two of you for sharing your experiences, your learnings, your insights. We have two questions from the audience. First one from Andrea. Now there's more coming. Did you do the test with IO bookings or programmatic media buying?
Good question. Actually, we did this through programmatic deal ID, but we have had other customers that they prefer doing IO bookings.
Okay. Then with the second question, what data is the matching with the data clean room based on? Hash emails, hash cookie IDs?
Very good question. The majority of the cases that we've seen in Switzerland and other European countries is mostly based on hashed emails.
We did it too.
Yeah.
It was hashed emails on our case.
Yeah.
Okay. Then from Manuel, how long did it take to prepare the available data to make it available to Decentriq? So I guess it's a question for Laura. And can you describe the process of gathering and preparing this data? That's the first part. Can you see the question, Laura?
Yeah, I'm just reading it.
Yeah.
How long did it take to prepare the available data? So we had our data scientists jump in. I think it didn't really take him that long. What took us long is to get the campaign manager, the product manager, to define who of those clients should be in the seed audience. So it was more a thing of defining who should be in the audience. The actual preparing of the data to make it available for Decentriq happened very quickly.
It also varies on the data extraction process varies on by company. PostFinance, being a financial institution, has a lot more lockdown processes and layers of management to extract customer data, as you can imagine. Other brands could have easier processes because they're probably more used to it. But it's important to note that this is a completely new paradigm of actually leveraging CRM sensitive data externally beyond your walls and collaborate with other companies. This is like a new muscle that the companies that did not realize it existed. It's a bit uncomfortable at the beginning, but once you get it going, it becomes easier and easier to do.
Okay, there's a second part to Manuel's question. Do you see it? Also, did Decentriq support you in the data preparation and modeling?
Yes.
Did you use your own resources, obviously, PostFinance's data science?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was a little bit of both.
Yes, it's a bit of both. So we have the technology offers for data for the companies that we offer an SDK in order to enable or automate the data extraction if the customer needs it. The model and the lookalike that you saw in the user experience, this is actually Decentriq's own lookalike model. We do have a different part of the system that allows companies to come up and bring their own models if they want to. They can run any type of sophisticated model on the platform. But for this particular case, we have our own model for lookalike building. Okay.
Philip's question, do you have any insights on the reach, the number of users reached?
This is post-campaign analytics. Philip, if that is what you're asking, this can be made available, but what we do have I can actually just go back and show you here in the part of the user experience. You'll notice here that we can actually show expected audience size. If the publisher wishes to provide this information, we can make it available. Most of the Swiss publishers do this, so we can actually estimate the audience size. And it should be, is a good segue in terms of determining how big or how small the audience needs to be based on your campaign budget.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question, Emma. Is there a minimum amount of people that need to be in the seed audience?
Yes. So the lookalike model does need quite a bit of people. In general, a good rule of thumb is about 500 to 1,000 profiles to be matched. That is, yeah.
Okay, great. Lara's question, now in German. Laura, you have to help me.
Yeah. Wann wurde should I answer in German then?
Yeah,
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, also wir haben Hochdeutsch, Schweizer, ich mache Hochdeutsch, keine Ahnung,
Ja.
sorry. Also wir haben mit unserem Legal Department geguckt, also ich weiß jetzt nicht genau, wie das mit dem Consent ausgesehen hat, aber unser Legal Department hat uns versichert, dass wir die Daten nutzen dürfen. Wir haben die Anpassungen für das Consent Management, das haben wir, wann war das? Ich glaube, das war ungefähr 4 Monate oder so, bevor wir den tatsächlichen Case gestartet haben, weil das Projekt und der Case, die Planung des Ganzen, weil es das erste Mal war mit den ganzen Legal-Abklärungen, die wir machen mussten, das dauerte schon eine Weile. Wir haben ungefähr ein halbes Jahr, bevor der Case stattgefunden hat, mit der Planung begonnen, mit den Legal-Abklärungen. Da war Data Security dabei. Also ich würde empfehlen, dass ihr das früh genug mit euren Legal oder Data Securities abklärt. Aber bei uns war es dann letzten Endes nicht so eine große Sache. Also wir mussten nur sicher gehen, dass wir da wirklich safe unterwegs sind. Aber ich glaube, wir haben so ungefähr 4 Monate davor haben wir aktiv daran gearbeitet mit dem Legal Team.
Super,
Also es war eine ganz kleine Arbeitsgruppe mit, glaube ich, 5 Leuten maximal drin.
We can also share after if you want to reach me, Lara. We have a legal white paper about this exact topic, consent and how we can process the data, and we define step by step how the data is being processed in the clean room, and also the impact on the legal side of things.
Great. Question from Julia. If you bought the ad spaces programmatically, how did you go about using the custom audiences? Can you see the question?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah? In other words, can you please clarify what are the steps between using the data insights from the data clean room to the campaign execution?
You want me to answer
What
that?
are the steps between using the data insights from the data clean room to the campaign execution? Well, what are the steps? Well, my step in the data clean room tool actually was like to define the lookalike audience, like with the slider that you see there. So like we looked at the insights that we got provided in the tool, and on the activation tab, you can pretty easily hands-on just decide what audience you want to create, like audience size. And you can actually also create multiple audiences, and it's really simple as you see. You just decide like the reach of the audience and you hit generate, and then the minute it's available down in the list, you can just hit one button, make it available to publisher, and the publisher has access to the audience.
And then how the specific ad slots that you want to buy or formats, that falls outside of the clean room. So once the audience exits the clean room and is packaged as a deal ID, it's up to the brand and the agency to buy the type of ads that they want to purchase. Obviously, this all goes for any type of ad on the programmatic space. So it could be video, it could also be display, native. It really depends on your strategy and you have to discuss it together with the publisher.
Great. Next question from Junia for Juan. Right at the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned a change in policy when it comes to first-party cookies that will be enforced beginning of next year. I think it was with Meta and Google and
yes, correct. So this is Google. Google is the last man standing in terms of deprecating third-party cookies, and they've already announced it. I mean, they've announced it already a couple of years back. They've extended it a couple of times because the regulators in the UK are really they're having a very close eye on this. But I think the timeline still remains that by the end of this year and beginning of next year, third-party cookies will no longer exist in Google Chrome.
Yeah, right. Then, you know, when it comes to the publishers, other than
Yes.
Goldbach and Ringier, I guess it's a question focused on Switzerland.
Yes.
Any other partners, publishing
Yes,
partners?
we have so we have Audience, Goldbach, and Ringier. We are working closely to onboard other remaining Swiss publishers, but with those three and hopefully publishers like Teha Media later down in the summer, this is already pretty much enough reach. We do have some cross-border publishers, as you can imagine, United Internet Media. They may cross over into Switzerland, may be interesting for you, but yes.
Okay. Then Elizabeth asked us, since first-party data from different sources are collected and assembled in the data clean room, does this need an extra consent management process for the
No, it does not. And this is a very touchy subject because it really depends on the use case. But if the goal is just to train a model or just produce aggregated insights without ever disclosing individual customer records, that falls under, we lean very strongly on the legitimate interest. And for that reason, I'll be happy to share also the legal white paper that touches this topic.
Right. Sultan has two questions for us. You mentioned pixelless attribution. How does it work, and on which inventory can you measure?
Okay, so as you can imagine, the pixelless attribution, what we're looking at is if we look, because we are using hashed emails on the brand side and understanding those hashed emails in the publisher side, we can measure the cross between both and which users were impressed with an advertising. Now, in terms of measurement, a lot of the stuff that we consider attribution today, which is very much click-based, is moving more to a modeled environment rather than very click-based. So that is going to change. So there's different ways that's why there's a rise on media mix modeling. It's making a big comeback. So a lot of brands are moving more towards this modeled approach rather than deterministic. And in terms of consent, it does not need to be in the TCF format, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's the second question. Yeah.
Yes, correct. Because what we do in the clean room, what we do is that we do the match based on hashed emails, but we're training the model and reapplying the model on the publisher provided IDs. These are first-party cookie IDs from the publisher, and we send back to the publisher its own IDs. So what we're doing is we're not transferring the data, we're just training and ordering their own IDs based on the lookalike, and then that's what gets activated under a deal ID.
Okay. Question from Andrea. Did PostFinance license their own DCR?
Yes.
Or did they? Okay.
Yes.
Her second question. What was the matching rate in the overlap analysis in the test?
I don't remember the exact number on top of my head, but what I know is that we used multiple lookalike audiences. We didn't just push one. We tried, I think it was by the end of the case, it was like 5 or 6 different audience sizes that we tested. So this is also something like there's no one size fit all, not even for one campaign. You just open up and you narrow it down again. You just have to test it.
Correct. And there's also, the match rate is a nice signal, but it's not what determines the lookalike. We are not bound to the match rate. That is why we put a lot of emphasis on lookalike building. Other players in the space, in the data clean room space, that's all they do. They just match IDs and send them over. what we want to do, what we do, and we strive to is protect both data owners, and so we build a lot of emphasis on privacy preserving lookalike audiences. Paul has a question about One ID. No, because it's not readily available yet, but expect some news on that soon.
Right. Listen, thanks for answering all the questions. Today's presentation will be made available to all the participants. So thank you very much to Laura and Juan for sharing their insights. And of course, thank you very, very much for participating, for your interest, and for the time that you gave us this morning. And enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.